Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of World Talks here on TVP World, where every word matters. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and please join me and my guests in this next interview. Now, the Baltic States have taken a historic step towards energy independence by successfully synchronizing their electricity grids with the European continental power network. This marks the end of decades-old reliance on Russia's power system, a move celebrated as a victory for freedom and European unity. But what does this shift mean for Europe's broader energy security, and how is the continent progressing in reducing dependence on Russian gas? Joining us today on TVP World to discuss this is Andrzej P. Sikora, president of the Institute of Energy Studies. Hello, sir, and welcome to TVP World.
Welcome, good morning, good afternoon.
So, can you help us understand how significant is the move to connect these energy grid now to the European system?
You know, significant means that in the first day of Ukrainian war, it means 3 years ago, we could see exactly the same scenario when we, in a very short period of time, 1 week, we could connect Ukraine to European grid. And it shows how it is important. With Baltic States, with Latvia, Lithuania, etc., we started this process, as I remember, in 2009. Yeah, it was in June 2009. It was the first action plan agreed with Baltic States and European Union. And today, after almost 15 years, we are connected. It means we are at first independent from energy supply from Russia, Belarus. Moreover, we are connected to the same synchronized and, let's say, well-serviced grid, European grid.
All right, so it's pretty important for a security standpoint to not be reliant anymore on Russian, Belarusian energy. However, do you think that this is also going to increase the cost for European energy, even if slightly?
At all. It means, of course, we've spent over 1.6 billion euros for modernization, for upgrading the system in those period of time. But the truth is, and in your document a few minutes ago, you showed that this year the prices in Lithuania, Riga, Vilnius will be the same like before. Of course, we've got this common European energy market, that it means that we are somehow dependent on raw materials. So we don't utilize coal. So we are going to switch to renewables. It means that our energy is not so cheap like in the United States, but next few months will show how politics Europe can manage this topic.
And going back to what you mentioned before, you were talking about how it's actually relatively easy for Ukraine to be connected to the European grid. But can you help us understand what are some of the challenges Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania face when it comes to their transition?
It was not so easy at that time, 3 years ago, and we should remember that it was a very dangerous part of European life, energy life. That's true, but it was very important because we should remember that in Lithuania we've got this Ignalina nuclear power station for decades, and Lithuania decided to access European Union. They decided to close this old-fashioned Soviet power plant. And those countries, they were very dependent on energy deliveries from Belarus and Russia, over 75-80% even. So it was huge. And of course, we can say that countries seems to be small, relatively small, but such influence for such region, it was very important.
All right, and I can't imagine that going well with the Russian side. I can imagine they're not very happy about the situation. Could you imagine a situation where Russia decides to retaliate, be it economically or politically? Do you think that would be something to be worried about going forward?
Russians, they are trying to, let's say, yeah, we've got the war and we've got sanctions. We've got not only problems with energy supply, but as well with natural gas, crude oil, etc. Baltic Sea and this, we can say somehow internal NATO Baltic Sea is under huge influence of Russian troops and Russian navies. Main flow of Russian crude oil from Ust-Luga is through Baltic Sea. So it is important, and yeah, we are happy that we could do this in this period of time, that we are ready, that we are connected, and there is no problem. Having on mind that we need to be prepared, secured, etc.
All right. And speaking of security, I'm also wondering how, if at all, is the Baltic region's energy grid kind of secure when it comes to potential disruption? We've seen the Russians sort of disrupting some of the cables before. So do you think there's a possibility that any infrastructure would also make itself vulnerable?
Yes, you are right, and this is a situation we've got under control and under deep investigations. Those billions of euro we spent for investment and for this better, they say, connection means that there are new lines agreed and prepared. The very good example is this line connected Poland with Lithuania. If I remember, 7 or 8 years old, well prepared and online, we can say. It means valid and with transfer of energy. There are connections with Scandinavian, etc. So we spent huge money for such independence, but it means that now we need to protect this infrastructure as well.
Yeah, that's very important going forward. And I'm also curious to reel it back into more regional talking points. What role does Poland play when it comes to energy stability in the region?
For years, based on our call for the Central and Eastern European part of Europe, we are kind of main energy supplier. Today, we are not so, this level of our support is not so high, but still having on mind that we are in the central part of Europe, that we've got very good connections among our partners, as well with Ukraine. So we can say that we stabilize the system as well.
And of course, this is only one of the first few steps when it comes to total energy independence from Russia. But do you think it's possible to completely be independent of Russian energy? Is that a realistic goal in the near future?
When you're talking about completely independent, we first should underline that still we've got Russians uranium. It means we are dependent somehow of this material for a nuclear power station, and this is a problem for Europe. For us as a future energy producer from nuclear power plants, more modular reactor as well. We are still heavily dependent on Russian natural gas today, not in pipes, but in this LNG form. It means still in this 16 package of sanctions against Russia. There is no words about this LNG as a possible another sanctioned product. And the truth is that because of sanctions for crude oil, we've got, we can say, flood of products from Asia based on Russian crude. So still, this is not so easy.
Right, so still a long way forward, but of course we've taken one huge step when it comes to disconnecting from the energy grid today. And if you can help us understand maybe what are some of the next major steps that can also take us perhaps one more step closer to that goal?
Are you asking about only electricity energy or the whole system?
Perhaps staving away from Russian energy to whatever extent is possible, I guess.
Yeah, the truth is that President Trump and European Union, we need to understand better each other, having on mind those words he said about huge additional LNG supply from the United States, because it could, we need to underline that natural gas in the United States is today 3-4 times cheaper than in Europe. So we need to agree some possibilities how we can utilize this natural gas in LNG form as a product for our chemistry, for our refineries, for our energy system. And I am generally talking not only because of LNG as a raw material, but another materials like crude oil, products for energy. The second issue is that we need to understand that our energy is too expensive in Europe for industry, generally speaking. So politicians, governments in Europe, we need to agree how we can prepare our movements, our thinking, and to have this renewable but still energy cheaper than today. This is main topic for us. And third, probably is the new wave of new energy, being of understanding that it will be this new possibility created by Europe, like hydrogen, like green ammonia, etc. Because without our own raw materials, European Union decided to prepare new technologies, new possibilities for new sources of energy, once more underlying this hydrogen as a possible source for
Right,
energy.
so of course there's still some things that needed to be tackled, but in the meantime, thank you so much for your input and insight. Really appreciate it. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much. All the best for you. Thank you.
And thank you for tuning into this edition of World Talks. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.